Making a quiz with Google Docs using the forms is pretty easy. I made this quiz. I mean, I think it looks great, and it was super easy, especially with the themes or templates. When the students answer the questions, I get it in a spreadsheet format. So here are my questions and the student responses below. But what I've been thinking about is how do I then give them feedback? I don't want to make this a quiz that's scored with percentages and wrong or right that simply. So what I did is I will download as an Excel. So I'll have it on Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to save that. I already have it open, so I'm just going to go with the one I already have. Now I went ahead and put in the answers that I either expect or that are correct, or at least the most correct. And I'm going to take my answers and I'm going to, well, hold on first. Before I copy, I'm going to go to this one student and let's see, under JW. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a new row here. Then I'm going to go to my teacher responses and I'm going to copy just the cells that have my correct responses. I'm going to go under JW and then I'm going to paste. Now here's JW and these are JW's responses. Right under JW I have my responses. So I can do a quick check here and see mushroom, moss, snail, pine tree, so far so good. Missed yogurt as a living thing, but got tomato seed, hermit crab, radish seed. So I don't have to put a score onto this. I'm just going to give the student the information so the student can look for him or herself to see what he or she got wrong. I much rather have them do that than to see they got 70% or 50% and then be done with it. There's no learning there. They don't go back and see, but this student might go back and say, hey, how come you have yogurt and I don't? That discussion will be rich. I look at the second cell. He put a cell for basic needs, water, food source, blood source. Well, and I was looking for more of air, oxygen for mammals and those of us who breathe oxygen instead of plants when they photosynthesize, because we'll talk about that later, so I'm not even getting into that here. Water, food, and shelter. So this person got water and food. Blood source, rather interesting. That might bring up some good discussion too, but I'm going to leave what I wrote here. Now for what things do we look for to see if something is living? I had 8, and this person only has 1, 2, 3, 4. Again with blood source. This person was into this blood source thing, so we'll have to talk about that. For what is meant when something is dormant, hibernation mode, something that is alive but sort of sleeping. Well, that's so close to what I wrote, I'm just going to say correct. What is meant when something is dead, not living, gone. Yeah, that's close enough. So I'm just going to say correct. Now this next one, why do we distinguish between things that were once living and non-living? And he wrote, I think that we did this because berries were once living, but then they were put in yogurt. Trees were once living, but is a rocking horse. That's pretty good. I mean, that he remembers we talked about that. Basically, the distinction was so we could distinguish between something that is completely non-living or came from something that was once living. So I'm just going to add correct and add, remember that we wanted to distinguish between things that were never alive, like rocks. And that will hopefully jog his memory. Then we have the question about Sabrina finding an object and wondering if it's alive or not. And he correctly answered no. It takes time for certain things to grow like a tree. So I'm going to say correct. What do you think would have happened if she put it in water? And that's a question that relates right to the lab we did. Now this next one, there's any number of right answers. So he wrote, I think that I learned that even though I might think something isn't alive, I could be wrong as it is. And all right, that's pretty cool. So now I've got this part right here that is specific to that student. And if I copy that and open up a new Excel spreadsheet, I can then paste that in here. And I've got something that is specific to this student. Page setup. And I'm going to change it to landscape. And still a little bit there. Now, I've got something that, there we go, that will fit this student. Now, I haven't figured out what to do with this, but I've got to somehow get this so that just JW, the student who took the quiz and answered this way, can see this. And that's the part I'm working on. If anybody has any ideas, let me know, because I want them to have some good feedback that isn't a percentage or a number. I mean, the most I'm doing is telling them if something is correct. And that's my idea for how to use the results from a Google form quiz and be able to give students feedback.